Hello and welcome to another episode of British Smoking Barbecue. Today I'm going to do a New York steak sandwich complete with bell peppers, onions, the most important bit, the steak. Let's get started. Right, so first, the most important thing is to get the barbecue up to about 235 degrees Fahrenheit. I've currently got it hovering around about 190 and it's climbing, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. So while we're waiting for that to get started and get up the temperature, we'll get these steaks done. So these are reasonably thick cut ribeye steaks. As you can see, got lots of marbling in there. What you're looking for is this fat that's interdispersed within the muscle. This is what's going to give your sandwich a lot of flavour. This is why I like to pick ribeyes. First things first, I'm just going to pat them dry. And we're just going to keep it simple. Just going to put a bit of salt. This is Himalayan pink salt, but you can use whatever salt you like. I'm going to salt it both sides. Some pepper. Most of the flavour is actually going to come from the smokiness of the barbecue. And that's it, simple as that. We'll just let these come up to room temperature. Right, steaks look really good, and then we'll be back. Okay, now the barbecue looks to be stabilised around 235 degrees Fahrenheit. Draft door at the bottom is open roughly about an inch, just over, and the tower at the top is roughly between the first and the second mark, about halfway. One thing to know about Kamados, or any smoking barbecue for that matter, is that the draft door at the bottom accounts for roughly 70% of your heat control, whereas the tower at the top is roughly 30% of your heat control. And the physics of it is the air gets drawn in underneath, which hits out at the fire and heats the fire up, and then the draft door at the top draws that heat up into the dome. And then of course, being a ceramic Kamado as well, it also holds the heat and heats up the dome, so you get not only the heat coming from the bottom, but you get that convection at the top as well, which is what gives it most of its smoky flavour and also keeps your meat moist. So now that the barbecue is stabilised, let's get the steaks on. Okay, so now we put the steaks on. I've put a probe in each of the steaks. These will take roughly 45 minutes to an hour to cook. I want to get them up to a temperature of roughly 115 to 120. You'll notice as well that I've got the Soapstone, and I've got one of the deflector shields in, so we're going to cook these indirect to start with at the lower temperature. I'm going to raise the temperature right up to about 500 degrees Fahrenheit to finish, and then we'll be ready to make our sandwich. So, see you in about now. Also, I want to stress the importance of using a digital thermometer. I use the iClander. It comes with 6 ports for your probes, although it only comes with 4 probes. I'm using 3 of them at the moment, and you use this nice app to make it work. All you do, you set your temperatures, and then you know when your meat's done and when it's at its most juicy and tender and tasty. So I just thought I'd mention that little bit. You know, get yourself a digital thermometer and you can't go wrong. Okay, our steaks are now currently at 116 and 115 each. they've been on for roughly 35-40 minutes. So we're going to pull our steaks off and we're going to do a reverse sear on our steaks. Get that osmosis effect. And we're going to ramp the temperature up in our grill to 500. I'm still going to leave the deflector shield in. And then we'll be ready to do the next part. So I'm going to open the vents up fully. Ramp this baby up. Some people like to do the sear first. I prefer to do it after. You'll see why once we slice open the meat. You don't want to overcook it too much because you're going to be chucking it onto the soapstone, and that's going to cook it some more on the soapstone, and you're going to mix in some cheese, your peppers, your onions, or however which way you want to do it. But you can't have a Philly New York Philly sandwich without the cheese. So we'll be back. Okay, it's now up to 500 degrees in the dome, so I'm just going to burp the grill if you want. Just close that off. As you can see, we've got a good fire going there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to sear the steaks on our soapstone. That going, and we'll give that about a minute. It does, doesn't it, Kay? But you're not going to eat any, are you? No, you don't eat what I cook, do you? Because you're daft.
I like chicken and I like chicken, but that's pretty much it.
You don't like a bit of steak?
I do. I only want a little bit though, but no family. Because I like how chewy it is.
Hmm?
Can I have a little bit?
A little, I suppose.
Yes.
Oh, you want some?
Yes. Did you cut yourself?
It happens.
You guys in barbecuing.
Not normally, no.
How did you cut yourself then?
I cut myself getting something out of the cupboard. I now shut the draft door about halfway because we're getting quite a bit of heat, and I'm using the soapstone, so it has to be over 500 degrees to get a really nice sear in steaks.
That's what it is, Captain.
Yeah, it's draft door, yeah.
It's fire.
Yeah, it's the fire. Okay, it's been about a minute, so let's turn these over. As you can see, we've got Maillard effect going on. And once we've got these seared, we can slice them up and get them ready to make our sandwich.
Interesting.
Isn't it?
You know you're in a good way, right? I know. Sounds so
Now,
tasty.
just put a little bit of butter on the steak. I'm going to do that as part of the final cooking process.
You have to be careful
After we
with
slice them out.
Like you could burn yourself.
Yeah. Oh, easily, yeah. As you can see, we've got a nice sear on our steaks. Okay, so we're just going to pull them off. Okay, and they're now ready for slicing.
I get
So we're going to leave the steaks to rest for a little bit, and we're going to cook our veggies.
Daddy,
Gonna get our onions.
I get the tiny piece of it. Tiny piece of that. Wait, what's that called again?
Little butter. Over our onions. Get some onions some flavour. We're gonna put a bit of salt, a bit of pepper.
What was it called? Ribeye Steaks.
It's gonna help draw out the moisture and create that sweetness. So that we get that sweetness
I know.
and savoury flavours. There we go.
That looks really good, to be honest. I don't like it.
You don't like onions, Shah?
Nope, I don't.
You know, when I was your age, I didn't like onions either. Now I love onions now. Oh, losing some of them down the end.
Whoopsies. I can see the fire. Why is the fire burning too?
Well, if the fire wasn't burning, it wouldn't cook because there's no heat.
No, I think it's butter. There's black bits on it. Is that I don't know what vegetable that is.
These are onions.
Pepper!
That's green bell pepper.
Have a bit.
Yeah, try it. It's got a nice savoury flavour to it. Now what we're trying to do here is just soften the onions up a bit
Hey, do you like it?
and release the sweetness.
I love pepper.
Try a little bit of onion there, okay?
Do you have to cook onions?
I can't have a New York Philly steak sandwich without onions, Charlotte. It just doesn't work, you know?
No, but like, can you eat onion without being cooked?
Yeah, you can eat the onions raw.
I didn't like it.
You don't like it, no?
No.
Go put it back in there, just put it on the top. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
I knew you wouldn't like the onions.
Now I haven't finely chopped the onions, I've just cut them coarse, long ways on. It's easier to make our sandwich that way. Okay, so they're starting to cook up nicely. Alright, so we can leave that for a sec. And then we can cut into our steaks and see what our steaks are like. Now we're going to cut the steaks into thin strips. We've got a nice little bit of medium rare on that.
Nice and chewy. I'm sure you're not burning it.
Try a bit.
Oh crap.
You like it, Kay?
I had none of the chicken with that.
Hmm?
And none of the steak chewy bits with that.
No, you can't go on your tablet because Mummy said you couldn't, didn't she?
Daddy, there's no chewy bits in this.
It's supposed to be tender, darling.
I hate that.
You don't like it, Kay?
No, I haven't got any chewy bits.
This is a ribeye, so it falls apart. And because we've smoked it, it makes it really tender, so it literally just falls to pieces. Just like that.
Oh, I want some.
So it may seem a little raw, but we are going to be chucking it onto the soapstone before we make our sandwich, where we'll be mixing our vegetables together. Yes, just have a sandwich. You can have it when you have your sandwich.
Can I put my bottle with your drink?
Yeah. That's our steak all sliced up. Just checking our onions. Our onions are cooked up nicely. Nice and soft. Just the way you need them for your sandwiches. Oh yeah. Now those onions are done. I'm just going to temporarily pull them off. Don't want them to overcook. Or you could just leave them on the side here, but one of my daughters, she doesn't like the onions for a steak, so we're just going to take them off. What it does leave that nice flavour on the soapstone as well. Down. Too handy to get hard. And also I find the butter enhances the flavour of the salt and pepper. Our seasoning. Okay, that's all the onions off and ready. And now we're just going to do a little pre-cook on our bell pepper. And then mix it all together. Like the final cook. Losing my mind here. That happens, I suppose. All we want to do is just soften these up. It won't need long because the soapstone's actually on a quite hot temperature at the moment. You can hear that sizzle, so you know it's doing something, right? I'm just going to add just a little bit more butter, not too much. I like to cook with butter because it gives it a bit more of an enhanced flavour when you're cooking. Some people they use ghee, cheese butter, and I think a bit of olive oil. And you can buy that in some supermarkets, but not so much over here in the UK. Oh, that looks good. We don't want to overcook our bell pepper. Onions on top. Maybe I should have put this second soapstone in, eh? Give it a bit more room to cook. Mix all that in together nicely. If you drop any down the side, don't worry about it. It'll burn up in the fire. Charlotte! Yeah, go and get yourself a cake, darling. You can see we're just doing a little one for my daughter. The important thing when cooking is to be confident what you're doing. your breads here.
Okay. I want to get some plate.
This is tiger bread.
Yeah,
Had this in year 5 at school.
tiger bread's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, they'd use it for snack at school.
A bit more, make our way. Okay,
Is
so
that
yeah, that's it for you.
Thank you, Daddy.
Okay. Now, next is the wife. Again, she doesn't quite like it much. Then add the cheese, which is a shame. There you go, we've got beef. Now, half our bell peppers, put it all together. That beef. Put mine on this side. And then make sure you mix all together. Again, be confident, don't be afraid. Remember, it's fun to cook. Now this is 2 portions. And what makes it the Philly cheese sandwich to me is cheese. So I've got some grated Monterey Jack cheese. I can get the packet open here. There you go. Just gonna put that cheese on the top. Remember, this is grated cheese, so I'm being a bit more liberal. Still with my wife. She likes her things a little plainer than I do. Yep, everyone has their own taste. Jen? Okay, so that's one done. Jen! Makes that one not. All together, and mix that cheese. Get that cheese all nice and melty. More cheese. Oh, look at that cheese. Jen! Now you can go with as much cheese as mad as you want. Well, don't worry about that, eat your dinner.
One into stock.
Alright, As long as it's artificial grass, it's fine.
Is that mine?
Yep. It's about done. Build the sandwich. That's not one much. Scrape that off later. That's our New York Philly cheese steak burger, steak sandwich I should say, done. Now we got the taste test. It's quite a big sandwich. That's really good. Thank you for watching. I'm going to go and enjoy my dinner now and see you again next time.